Hello guys, welcome back to Kicking It with Victor. If you're new to this channel, hit the subscribe button and also turn on the notification bell and like this video to see more of my content. So, the UEFA Champions League quarterfinals have played out and we've seen how the run of play. A lot of people had plenty of speculations as to who would go through and who wasn't going to go through. Will City turn the tide and move on to the next stage? Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about all of the happenings that went down during the Champions League game. Firstly, let's look at PSG and Mbappe. Is this Mbappe's time to win the Champions League? Because we've all known that the owners of PSG have been chasing this particular trophy for a very, very long time. PSG has been the dominant team in France since they signed Mbappe. They've had an array of players, top players, that they've also been trying to build and mold a project to get to the UEFA Champions League final. Unfortunately, they haven't been able to do that. In recent times, they tried with Neymar and Messi in the picture. Messi, arguably the best player in the world. Neymar also a technically gifted player, but they couldn't. They fell short in the group stages or thereabout. But now, Mbappe and Dembele is trying to do almost the impossible. For Mbappe, this will be a highlight for him. Should he get his hand on that trophy before he tends to leave, because we know that there's a lot of speculation surrounding Mbappe and his time at PSG, and he's already told the owners that he's not going to stay. So what's going to happen going forward? But that's on the side, because we know that we can all speculate and talk and analyze and just think up things, but it all boils down to 90 minutes of play or thereabout for history of football to take a change, and that also depends largely on the players. But we saw how PSG turned the tide with Barcelona. They went to Barcelona's home and gave Barcelona a fight for their lives, and end up winning that game. Though there was a red card amongst several other issues during that game, but that's not what we're talking about. But looking at how PSG had managed and done what they could to get to this stage of the Champions League. It's a good one for them. Yes, in my own opinion, it's a very, very good one for them. Why do I say so? Because it is something that they've been trying hard to get their hands on. And should they get it, it will be a crowning moment, especially for Mbappe, leaving PSG, moving to another club. Now, but it is also left to see who they will be paired with in the semi-finals, because that is who or what the game that would determine if they would get to win the Champions League or not. So moving on, Harry Kane and Bayern Munich. It is interesting to see how Bayern Munich and Harry Kane have clawed themselves up until this stage. Everyone was looking at Arsenal and how they could perform, because Bayern Munich had not been doing all too well and in the league. Yes, we saw how their bitter rivals Bayer Leverkusen won the league just a few days ago, and I am betting that a lot of people behind the scenes in that Bayern Munich ownership are unhappy. Bayern Munich has won the league for 5, 6, 7 years in a row. Now Leverkusen is coming to pick them to it. It's sad. It's very, very funny to see, but it's a good one for Leverkusen. But that's not what we're looking at here. We're talking about Harry Kane, one of the most prolific strikers playing the game these days. Will he finally get his hand on a trophy? Because we all know he left where he previously was and moved to Bayern Munich, and he has scored over 20 goals in both in the league and in the Champions League to get Bayern Munich this far. Will he finally get his hand on a trophy? Because it will be sad to see Harry Kane, one of the most prolific strikers ever known to end his career without his hand on one trophy. Because who knows, Harry Kane is one of the top scorers in England, in the England national team. Yes, he's amongst one of the top scorers, and he's also proving to his doubters in the Bundesliga that he is a very good striker. But yet his team has not been able to perform properly at the local stage. That's the league. But here they are. They beat Arsenal in their own in Allianz Arena to get to the next stage. But who will they get going forward, and how would they play in the semi-finals? Because Bayern too have been very, very inconsistent, and we never can tell. We never can tell. They could turn up and go into the final, which would be a very good one for Harry Kane and his teammates. So, Real Madrid are one of the biggest teams when it comes to Champions League. In the last 10 years, Real Madrid had won the Champions League so many times that I can remember. Yes, they were quite dominant with their team until City came into the picture just last season and took that away. But we cannot take it away from a Real Madrid team whose tradition of late had been the Champions League. They have been the kings. I would dare say that they have been the kings of the Champions League for a very, very long time, and they have in a very, very experienced manager in Carlos Ancelotti, someone who has won the Champions League with this same Real Madrid side in 2021-2022 season. But then he had a very, very prolific team with the likes of Karim Benzema in the team and Cristiano Ronaldo. But also, he also still had the likes of Toni Kroos and Luka Modric. And those two are still in the team, leading the pack as the old heads. But this current Real Madrid team has very, very exciting and promising players. I cannot say Vinicius Jr. is a young player anymore. Vinicius Jr. has come to prove to a lot of doubters that he is who he claims to be. Vini on his own can turn the tide for any particular game. We've seen him do that severally in the league. But this is the Champions League we're talking about, so he's going to need some of his other teammates. We have the likes of Rudiger, who has been quite solid in the back. We have the likes of Valverde, that scored a very superb goal in their last game. We also have the likes of his Brazilian teammate in Rodrigo. Yes, so they have what it takes, because it is a sort of tradition for that Real Madrid team to go far in the Champions League, and they'll be looking to at least get their hands back on the trophy. Well, for me, the person who I think will be the key to unlocking that will be the coach, Don Carlo, and all his tactical antics that he's going to pull moving forward. But we have to wait to see by the end of the week to know who they get paired with. I have my predictions, and we're going to look into that by the end of this video. Moving on to Dortmund. Isn't it interesting to see two of the teams in the Bundesliga that haven't been doing too well in the semi-finals of the Champions League? Bayern Munich and Dortmund. Those two teams have actually played some time back in the final, and the last time Dortmund got to the final was in the 2012-2013 season, where I think they lost to Bayern Munich or thereabout. They beat Real Madrid along the way, but that was a very, very formidable team with the likes. I think Lewandowski was on that team too back then. But this Dortmund team has the likes of Marcel Sabitzer and Sancho, that was actually ousted from the Manchester United team. Yes, we remember all the issues Sancho had while he was at Manchester, with him being sent away for a while and claims of him not performing enough to make it into the team, amongst other things with the manager. But it's good to see that Sancho is now getting some play time at Dortmund and getting to enjoy himself play again. But could him, Sabitzer and Dorian Malen take this Dortmund team across the line in the semi-finals? Is left to see. It is left to see, because the Champions League is a very, very dicey tournament and an interesting one, and you require a top mentality to play at that level. In this Dortmund team, I can only see Matt Hummels, who is a very, very experienced player that has played for both Bayern and Dortmund team at top level, being the only person experienced to have gotten up to this stage in the Champions League. As for the other teams, maybe they could come in with a tough, hard, dive mentality that let's just get it done. Let us be fearless and see what will play out. But Dortmund going to be the dark horses in the Champions League. That's left to see when we get to see the draws. Sadly, Manchester City are out. They are currently the UEFA Champions League holders, but they are out. I was of the opinion that should Manchester City cross this hurdle, they are likely going to win the Champions League. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. They drew 1-1 to Madrid and lost in the pens. I think Pep made some errors by taking out Kevin De Bruyne and Erling Haaland when he came down to the pens. He shouldn't have done that. That may have been what cost them that game. But who am I to say? I'm not a technical person. I'm just talking and making speculations. But what I think also happened to Manchester City was last season they had the likes of Mahrez and Ike Gundogan, but those players have left, and Manchester City this season have played as if they've lost steam. Yes, that's what I think. I think they've played as if they lost steam, because if we look at it, even while they play in the league, there are some games that they're supposed to kill off, but they just end up winning by 1-0. So I think maybe because they won it all last season, they didn't want to just push. The passion wasn't just there. But I've said it before that I think Manchester City's goal was the Champions League. But now that they are out of it, they'll just go back to the domestic games and focus on getting past Chelsea in the semi-finals of the FA Cup. And should they win that, it's very likely they'll get that trophy. And with Manchester City currently facing Chelsea very soon in the FA Cup, I think they are going to get their hands on that trophy. We also saw that the current slip-up of Liverpool and Arsenal has given them an edge in winning the league. Manchester City is that team that you do not give a slight opportunity to lead you in the league. But we'll all wait and see how the league plays out. It is sad to see Pep and his boys go out this way, but it is what it is in the Champions League. So Pep will eventually focus on breaking the record of the first manager in the Premier League to win it back-to-back 4 times. That's going to be an incredible record. For me, Pep is the top manager that very, very few teams will be looking to get their hands on. But we can never tell. I don't see him leaving Manchester City anytime soon. That depends on the ownership of the club. Now, moving on to my predictions for the Champions League semi-finals and who is going to get paired against who. I think the 2 Bundesliga teams are going to get paired together, Dortmund and Bayern Munich, and that's going to be a very, very funny game. Why do I say so? Bayern Munich has always had the upper hand over Dortmund. Now, should PSG be able to beat Madrid, I think PSG might win the Champions League. But we know Real Madrid are kings of Champions League. They've won it several times, just like I said in my previous video. So let me know in the comment section what you think about my predictions. So my predictions are going to the semi-finals: Dortmund, Bayern, PSG, Real Madrid. Let me know in the comment sections who you think and how you think it's going to all play out. See you soon.